What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? All this talk about the coronavirus. All these people dying. Now Europe is infested with it. Now the Pope has got it. We know the last time Europe was infested with a disease and people start falling off the planet. It was not a pretty picture. And they infested everyone. Everyone they could. listen, the Europeans, when they had, what is this? It's either small or yellow pox. They went to the Amazon forest. Listen, the Amazon forest was good. The Amazon forest was populated with like 20 million people. You know what wiped them out? The Europeans' diseases. Real talk. Those people weren't used to, same thing with the Indians. Yellow pox. Yeah. But the coronavirus, this is a whole different thing. Well, see, yeah, this is why I went live with this instead of just making a video because I knew somebody was going to come on and talk about spreading fear. Here's the thing that gets me about that. Yes, they do spread fear. I'm very, very, very aware of that. But here's the thing. How do we know the truth? See, because you can say they spread fear, right? Because we don't have the whole picture. Why we don't? We just don't. We rely on them for our information. Now, here's the thing. We're talking about something that can knock us off the planet, that can kill us. We can't see it. All we know is one day we start sneezing. I sneeze every morning. We start sneezing, and our nose starts running excessively. My nose already runs. But nonetheless, I'm doing good, Lady G. But nonetheless, how you doing? Nonetheless, this is not a common cold. This is something that eventually your temperature goes up. It's like the flu. And then I don't know what it does to your immune system, but whatever it does, it knocks it out pretty much. Raises your temperature because you're fighting all this. Next thing you know, you're falling over and you're in the hospital and in severe need of some type of, that's what's up, in some type of medical help. Now, like you guys said, they spread fear. But when do you start to take action? We live in the last days. They're doing everything they can to distract us from connecting with ourselves. No. My question to you and all the other people who say the same thing, they spread fear. We already know that they spread fear. What I'm asking you is, when do you start taking it seriously? Because if you look at the news, yeah, it's getting real scary. I bet it does. It's getting real serious, right? The Pope just got it. They're saying that the Pope has it because this guy goes out and starts hugging people who he knows has it and kissing babies, during the prayer, and you know that they have it, and vaccines all around. Okay, fine. Do you have the vaccine? Do you have it? That's all I'm saying. When do you start wearing a mask? When do you start running around with a mask on? When do you start wearing a mask? When do you start reacting to this as if if you catch it, it can kill you? When do you get serious about it? Is what I'm asking the people who say, "Oh, they spread fear. They're telling us lies." The government this, the government that. Yes, we know the government lies to us. We know that the government will not tell us the whole truth. We're well aware of this. But when do you start going, you know what? I'm not going to depend on what the government says. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, buy cases of water. I'm going to get, a month's worth of food because of what I saw in Wuhan, China, is the streets are closed. And what I also saw in Wuhan, China, is they're snatching people up. They're literally snatching people up and saying, "You have the virus." And these people are going, "I'm not sick." And they're stopping people in the middle of the street. And they're saying, "You have the virus," after some little heat test. And listen, the test that they put this, pretty much a thermometer up to your head and measure how you listen. That isn't 100% proof that you have the virus or you don't. Why? Because there is a latent stage. For one, somebody could be walking around with the virus, but their hasn't gone up yet. Okay, and we know that. Also, another thing is they have people already in quarantine. People are still eating Chinese food and getting there, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I cannot go to a Chinese store and I can't and eat nothing. Now, the only thing I get, like I go to the little not a Chinese store, but the little hair product joint and get this for my hair whenever I need it or some tea tree oil. But that's it. But eating Chinese food, listen, I stopped eating Chinese food a long time ago. Yeah, I stopped eating it a long time ago because I became very suspicious of it. And then when I read how they take sewage, pretty much, sewage grease, just grease that's already been used over and over years. I used to be a cook. I spent half of my life cooking. Well, not half of it. I was a cook before the service, in the service, and after the service. So I've done a lot of cooking, been a lot around a lot of grease. And I'm gonna tell you something: you don't want to reuse bad grease. So they take this grease that's like in the ground, take it and do something with it, and then start using it again. And they find out that the grease has, fecal matter and stuff in it. And people are, especially for the people who are right along the street vendors, they use this grease to cook your food, and then people come along and eat it and then recycle that whole situation, and it's just a terrible thing to do. And the government knows that they're doing it. And all the people know that they're doing it. And when I look at that, and then when I look at what happened with the Europeans and how they all got sick and the things that they were spreading, I'm like, this is the same foulness that happened to the Europeans, and 70 million people got wiped out. And a lot of those people had nothing to do with anything. Like, we don't even know what's going on. Heck, they thought God was punishing them. You know what I'm saying? It's the same, foulness. It makes you sick. So, just my thing. Like, when do we start? Listen, I'm gonna get it. I got some masks. I got some masks. I got some masks. You can say I fell into the trap. If that is serious, they will close schools. Yes. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Yes, they will close the schools. Years ago, a Chinese restaurant owner was serving dog and told the police he only served it to N word. Why? And that don't surprise me because I've looked at plenty of videos and for one, didn't only serve it to black people. That's a lie. That's a lie because Chinese people eat dog. They actually have it in their like on their menus. When you like the menus is right out. You have your menu pretty much hanging right outside. So people can walk by and look at what you're having. And they have a big old thing and dog right there. You can go into their supermarkets and you'll find heads of dogs like. Just like we can go into a slaughterhouse and find heads of pig's head and stuff like that, because we eat pigs. You know what I'm saying? You can just find it. They eat dogs. They eat it like it's nothing. So they weren't. He wasn't just only serving it to black people. He said that so the cops won't, shut him down, but they should shut him down anyways. But they eat, dogs and cats, and so let's not get that twisted. They eat everything. And that's the problem. You can't eat everything. Even the Bible tells you you can't eat everything. You know what I'm saying? It just tells you some things you just can't eat because it's not good for you. It's not natural for you. It's not healthy, and it will. And the thing about it is, when you eat something, the their blood mixes with your blood. Believe it or not, whatever their cellular structure is, that cellular structure gets into your system, and it can either help it or hurt it. We know most plants that are edible. We know that those plants help our system. We know it helps our digestive tract. It gives us protein and and strength and all the other things that we need to just be normal. This is not talking about being some Superman. Just be a normal, functioning, healthy person. We know that plants give us everything that we need. We know this. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, there still is meat out there, and we eat meat and for whatever reasons that we eat it. It tastes good, but nonetheless, not all meat is supposed to be consumed. And when you start consuming it, their blood gets into your blood. Especially because people like to eat meat rare. I have never been a fan of this. People like to eat it not only rare, they eat rare, medium rare. No, I like my stuff well done. But I don't eat a lot of it anyway. Well, let me say this. I don't go out and grab hamburgers a lot, but I do have some meat. I eat a lot of turkey. I do eat a lot of turkey. I ain't going to lie. I used to eat a lot of chicken, but I eat a lot of turkey now. Because the chicken, I'm going to do another video on that because the chicken recently has been making me sick. It's been making me nauseous. So for you people with the coronavirus, now that we see that, the papacy might have it, we see that it's in the Middle East. You got people being snatched in the Middle East, and hospitals are saying that these people are sick. You have thousands and thousands of cases that are all over the world. You got the World Health Organization, who pretty much made it clear. They're like, it's not going to be a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And then you have all kind of other information out there saying that when the coronavirus hits America, it's going to change our lives drastically. So your everyday getting up, going to work, going to the grocery store, going to the gym, all that's going to change. Your normal pacing, your normal habits, all the stuff that is deemed normal, it's all going to change. When you look at Wuhan, those people don't go out. They're not even allowed to go out. The whole city's quarantined. Let's get this in perspective. There are 11 million people that live in Wuhan. That's just in Wuhan. 11 million people in the city is quarantined. So you got people meandering around, but for the majority of them, they don't even want to come outside. You still got things that need to be done. You still need to eat. You still need to function. But a lot of people are just like, I know if I come outside, I'm getting sick. I know it. If I'm not dressed in a certain way, I'm getting sick. If I'm not fully covered, I'm getting sick. And then, not to mention, the winter is going to be over soon. When the summer comes and this thing is still around, then what? When it starts hitting 90, and some of you live in, where it hits 100 degrees, then what? What are you looking at? Because it can get on your skin. You don't have to necessarily breathe it. It gets on your skin. It's transmitted by touch. As far as, listen, I'm not a doctor, but as far as what I know, it's transmitted by touch. So then what? Then what? You're walking along, next thing you know, you start sniffling, and you're just like, that's the sniffles. Listen, I got terrible sinuses, so I'm used to that. But then when you're doing it every day, you're still like, this is still normal. I wake up and sneeze every day. That's still normal. But when it's all the time, see, it happens to me in the morning. My sinuses are terrible, so in the morning I get up and blow on my nose, and it's just constant blowing my nose. But that doesn't happen during the whole day where it's just, and the nose is running and constantly. That's when you know you're sick. You're sick. And then it escalates quickly. So the coronavirus is not something that's, you get it, and then years later, you find out that you had a coronavirus. You get it, and then very quickly, you have it within weeks. You have it because whatever sniffles and runny nose and blowing of the nose, it just keeps getting worse. Then your temp goes up, then your body feels terrible, and your temp keeps going up. And I'm not exactly sure how it kills you. I don't know if it runs a fever and it acts, flu-like symptoms. I haven't studied it, but what I do know is that it'll take you out of this world. And like I said, for you people who are saying they're just spreading fear, I don't think they're just spreading fear anymore. I don't think the coronavirus is something that the government is saying is out there just to spread fear. As a matter of fact, I think the government is doing quite the opposite. I think they're not giving us enough information because it'll spread fear. That's what I think. I think that they're keeping a whole lid on it because I think that the cases over we had one guy die in Washington State from it. We had a whole cruise ship, what, two something hundred people who've been quarantined, from a cruise ship. We had a bunch of people fly in recently from China, and every person on there was quarantined. And the CDC is talking about, oh, they've been communicating with us. Everybody's fine. They're talking to us. No, 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 no. No, no, no. You quarantine those people. And the quarantine length is like 2 to 3 weeks. That's how long they usually keep you. You quarantine those people. And you're talking about everybody's fine? No. Because we saw another video where the guy who's actually living in China, or actually his wife was living in China, and they're American. She's American, he's American. They just happen to be living over there. We do a lot of business with China. They just happen to be living over there. She's still over there in Wuhan, and she got sick. And he's pretty much fearing. He's like, my wife's in trouble. She's sick, sick. Like, she's not. And then, they had a video of her and she's talking. She's like, I contracted coronavirus, yada, yada, yada. This is not no, oh, those people are, in quarantine. They're just fine. I think it's the complete opposite. I think that people have the coronavirus, and I think it is escalated to a point where the government knows that if they start telling us what the real numbers are, that they're going to have anarchy. This is what I believe. I believe they're going to have anarchy because they don't want the supply lines to stop. They don't want that. Notice the people. Oh, okay, so our dealings with China. So here's how they're doing this. We're still doing import and export, which means their people are still coming onto the mainland. But when they do, they're quarantined to a certain, whatever. But we're still. Do you have a plan, Tone, or are you going to underground? Well, that's a good question because ever since I heard of the coronavirus, let me backtrack. The Lord has been talking to me, and He's been telling me to get food and water. He's been telling me this before the coronavirus, though. He's been telling me get yourself some food and water. You're gonna need it. But he's been telling me this long before I even knew what the coronavirus, before the coronavirus was even a thing. And then when it started to become a thing, he's telling me even more, and that's just the way the Lord does. He starts talking to you even more. So I start watching Netflix Doomsday Preppers. So the answer is, do I have a plan? I'm starting to get one. Now remember, I was gonna dip out. I was going to Japan. Japan is infected right now. I was gonna leave before this coronavirus thing because I was already looking at government jobs overseas. Now that whole thing has changed because pretty much every continent that we see is infected with the coronavirus. And we know that if you're going to have a chance to survive, you're going to have a better chance to survive here. So, what I've been looking at is, for one, trying to get my money up. That's for one. And I've been looking at going into rural areas. Fortunately, I live in Ohio, and Ohio has a lot of wide open spaces. And to me, it seems like getting away from people seems to be the right choice. So it's like having a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 1 month, 2 month plan. It's kind of like that's what's going on with me. I have already put that into gear. One, I don't go out as much. I don't get around people that much. But I've already been like that. But now it's helping me. So I stopped being as social as far as contact with people, face to face, talking to people. I cut that out. Two, I've been buying a lot of water. Um, every time I hit the grocery store, I don't go in and buy, big old things of water. But I will buy a jug or two. I'll grab a jug, even if I don't need it. Boom, throw it in my truck. Just let it sit there. Go to the store again whenever I'm going. Grab another jug of water. Big old jug like so, and boom, just have them. Now I'm gonna step that game up. Like yesterday, I bought 3 jugs. So now I'm just gonna start making water runs. Just getting as much fresh water as I can and putting it in my basement. Also, I have a storage unit. So I might be using my storage unit to, kind of hide, the things that I need because our maintenance men can just come in here whenever. So that's not cool. So I was suggesting, if you people are going to start prepping for, you know, the worst, I don't necessarily suggest get a gun, but, be combat ready. I suggest that, you know your surroundings. If you know where the nearest river is, that's a good thing. For transportation, for one, for food, for two, and fresh water. If you know how to purify water, that's going to help you out a lot. So I'm going to start looking up water purification systems that you can just use in your house. Because if they shut down the water system, what are you going to do? Wait till it rains? No, you're going to have to go find a river, get some water, purify it, do whatever to it, and be able to consume it without getting some type of amoebic dysentery or, a bunch of protozoas swimming around in your gut, which was really weird because I had a dream about that recently. So I think it's going to get better. A couple days ago, I had a dream that I went in these people's house and I was delivering a refrigerator. And what about if well, let's just stop. And when I went in, there was water all over the floor. And when I seen the water all over the floor, then these were these huge slugs, that were crawling all over the floor. And if they got on you, it's bad for you, very poisonous. So I'm like, why am I having a dream about delivering a refrigerator? And then the dream went on, it switched into I was running with this other person and we were trying to get away from this flood that was coming. And it was a one of them just it was just a gradual buildup of water, but eventually it was going to get over our head. So I think something is coming down the pipe and it's just not going to be good. And if you're not prepared for it, you're going to lose your life. Okay. So what about if the intruders come for all your resources? Are you going down with the ship or leaving the fight to another day? No. Well, that all depends on who the intruders are. That's for one. That also depends on what weapons I have and what weapons they have. I have already thought about this. And it also depends, and like I said, if you're going to start storing up food, and supplies, everybody knows most likely it's going to be in your house. Have a second source of storage. There's nothing wrong with that. Doomsday preppers do it all the time. If you can, have a storage unit. I have a storage unit. It's full of refrigerators, but nonetheless, uh, if things keep going the way I think they're going to go, that storage unit is going to be used for supplies. And don't go out and get a bunch of chips and cookies and stuff like that. Don't you? What you don't want is the insects to come in and eat all your stuff. You want to get stuff that's in a can. You want to get stuff that yeah, start an action plan. Have somewhere else to go. And another thing, if the pumps stop, your vehicle's not going to run. That's just that. If you have yourself another source of transportation other than walking, it's good to have one, a bicycle. got yourself one of them. Get a bicycle. I have a bike sitting in my basement. I never use it. It is a source of transportation. Get yourself a bike. You know what I'm saying? And one of them little air pumps. Just have something to have a backpack. Because listen, if the city shut down right now and they say everybody needs to go to Cincinnati, you need to start migrating south, and all of the gas stations are closed, all of the roads are congested. People started leaving, and what do I know about cloning? Dolly. Well, let me say this. Let me say what I believe, but let me finish my last thought first. Uh, So yeah, I mean, a pedal trying to pedal bike to Cincinnati is it's an hour and a half car ride. That's a long way, but nonetheless, it's even longer if you're walking. That's all I'm saying. And we know that cars run out of gas. Next thing you know, you have a 4,000 pound piece of worthless nothing if you can't put gas in it. Okay, so what do I know about cloning? Nothing other than Dolly. Uh, I heard that all the people that are getting sick around the world are clones. Well, that is new to me, Supreme. That is a brand new thing to me. Like I don't even know how to respond to that. It let me tell you guys something. I would love to meet the person who has all the answers. I would love to meet the person who's in the know. Because listen, I've been in the military. I've worked for local governments. I've worked for the House of Representatives. Of what I'm saying. I've been around some pretty important people, and I'm going to tell you this: nobody knows it all. Nobody. We're all being handed and regurgitated information. And you know what happens if you're getting information from somewhere and then you're transposing that information and giving it to somebody else. It comes out a little different every time it passes through one channel to the other. It just does. It just does. And next thing you know, once it all comes full circle, the whole thing sounds completely different. I just don't know. Do I think that cloning is possible? Absolutely. We know cloning is highly possible. We know that scientists have been messing around with these genes. What have we seen recently? The dude in China went and started messing around, with genes and stuff, and then he's like, "Look, I cloned a single cell, and I made it so this cell is not able to be infected by AIDS or not, no, infected by cancer. Therefore, I cure cancer." You know what I'm saying? Because if you take a single cell organism, and regardless of what its DNA structure is, let's just say it has a DNA structure, and once it is grown all the way, this uh, my first thought was population control. That's what everybody's thought is. Just say it's a cow. Let's just say it's a cow. We know there's millions of them here in America. So you got the single cell organism, right? Boom. It grows, and it ends up being a freaking milk cow. You know what I'm saying? One of them jokers, a little milk cow. And you know that if you start drinking the milk from this cow, like tested, if somebody tested, you start drinking the milk, the people who have cancer all of a sudden either don't get it, either get rid of it, or their children and or their family, as their bloodline goes, as they start having children or children, none of their family gets cancer. Cancer is completely eradicated. Not only is it eradicated, it is not even possible for this newborn baby to get cancer. because cancer is just what it is. It just eats a cell, and it just destroys it, and it just starts destroying other cells. So regardless where it is, it's still a same carcinoma cell. So it's just one cell that's doing this, and then it starts spreading and eating your cells, and eventually it kills you. Now, so if you take that thought, and of course we never heard from this guy again. I think they actually killed him. But if you take that thought, you know, we're not even going to touch on what Dr. Sabi did because they knocked him off too in Honduras. But if you take that thought and you have a populated animal, a docile animal that we consume on a daily, and then you take this animal and you start breeding it. Next thing you know, you got 10, 20, 100, thousands of thousands of cancer cows is what we'll just call them. We'll just throw it out there. You have cancer cows out there that if anybody drinks the milk of these cancer cows, their cancer will start depreciating, and their children and children's children in continuum will not get cancer. Let's just drink that in. See, because I think the opposite has happened. I think that there is a cancer cow, but the cow has cancer. I think there is a food out there that is actually producing cancer. Why? Because cancer is so random. Cancer doesn't have anyone's name on it. It doesn't have the rich, the poor, the black, the white, the Indian. It has no one's name on it. Everyone is privy to it. And why is that? It's just my thought. Why is that? It's not necessarily, listen, it could be the air that we breathe. We all breathe in the same air. No matter if you drive a Bugatti or if you drive a little, Honda Civic, you're still breathing the same air. That's one thing. Or you're all eating the same food. You're all eating the same food. So it's either chemtrails or the cows. One or the other is giving everybody cancer. And there's this whole push to stop cancer, but there's somebody who is in the know. And they know that these cows out here have cancer. And listen, if it's in the food, I don't believe it's just in one species of food. But nonetheless, if it's in the cows, just think about that. It is probably the most widely eaten food that we have besides the chicken. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there. So as far as cloning is, I know that was a long-winded answer, but you guys ask these questions, and I don't think you want me to just say I don't know. I don't think you just want me to give you like a very short, answer. I think you actually want to know my thought process on some of this stuff. Uh, as far as cloning is concerned, one, let me just say this: I don't know who's a clone or not. I don't even know if the clone would know that they were cloned unless the cloner told them so. Drink that in. Just sip that in for a minute. And we don't know the life expectancy of Dolly. We don't know if Dolly was edible. Dolly was a sheep, wasn't she? We eat sheep. We don't know if cloning an animal it makes that animal edible. We don't know if that clone is can pick up diseases and or cure diseases. We don't know that. We don't know if a human is cloned. We don't know if a human is cloned. Is like we don't even know all the way down to the soul of that person. Does this person have the same soul? We don't know this. We don't know. All we see is a body. So if you're saying, okay, I hear the coronavirus is killing all the clones. Why? How is that possible that a virus can target a clone? What is it that the clone has that we don't have, or the clone doesn't have that we don't have? So you'd start looking at autonomic systems and immune systems and things along that line and going, well, is there something in our immune system that's not in the clones because they were cloned? They lack, I don't know, maybe a certain amount of T cells because that could do it. It when AIDS is still killing people, but when AIDS was killing people as rapidly as it was, it's because their T cells dropped. So you just think about that. If you clone something and or someone, do they have the same amount of T cells? Which means there's a flaw in the cloning process because it's unnatural. So if you take, if you, let's just do this. If you take somebody who has a perfect, hand, and they drew a picture, and you say, I want you to draw that same picture, will that picture come out the same? Will there be a flaw in the next picture? When you take a picture of a picture, is the picture that you took the same as the picture? Regardless of 1080p, whatever. When you take a picture of a picture, the picture that you now have is a clone of the first picture. Is it the same? The same picture. Is it the same? The answer is no. Why? Because of the cloning process. So the camera, regardless of what camera you used, regardless of the high density or whatever, the tungsten lighting or whatever you want to use, it is still down to some type of pixelated measurement different from the original. It is not the same. It's not, and you can notice it. And there are people who, there are artists and people who are in art galleries. This is what they do. Curators, this is what they do. They can tell a real from a fake, even though the real looks so real. The watch, it looks so real, but this is not a Rolex because the Rolex would have a gray line right here. This one has a yellow line. Or this one is stainless steel, but the other one is, some type of chromium or whatever, chrome finish with a, I don't know. In some way, it's slightly cheaper because of the materials, but you can't notice it unless you have an eye for it. So, how do we know who's a clone and who isn't? How do we know? We can't go because you got the coronavirus, you're a clone. Is a twin a clone? How do we know? If we're going by what people are saying, they're killing all the clones. How do we know that they're a clone? And where's the original? How did the cloning process start with the person? I did see it. I did see it. I saw it. It threw me for a minute. It still does, actually. Yeah, it still does because, for one, like I said, I say my age all the time because it adds validity to my thought process when you guys ask me some of these questions. I'm 52 years old. So during the 80s and the 90s, when that movie basically is set in, I was very aware and alert and cognizant of, Reaganomics, of the Hands Across America and Pepsi Cola and Yellow Submarine and all these things to bring these worlds together, even though we were constantly at war. So, yeah, I remember Hands Across America. Okay, so doctor's visits, right. But here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. How do they know who to clone? I think the coronavirus is killing anyone. I think the coronavirus is like a fast cancer. Now, some pathologists will, clear this up for us because my degree is not in pathology. Uh, Although it is in, in a healthcare fashion, it's health administration. I am not a scientist of the inner workings of the blood system. Uh, my, I don't know, scientific thought process is of how diseases spread and how to defend them, as far as from local government to world government. That's where I come in, you know. So I'm not going to stop it by, a petri dish. But as far as gathering people and getting the right people to the right spot and helping, that type of thing, I have some knowledge on that, uh, Army, and, local government and stuff like that. So, but nonetheless, how do we know who to clone? I think we should all prepare. And my degree is Health Service Administration. I think we should all prepare. I think we should see. This is different from our issues with the police. When they gun one of us down who is innocent, we're like, I'm not going out anymore. This is different. Like if you don't go out, they win. This is different. The coronavirus is no subject to man. So you not going out, you not going to the next party, you not going to the circus, you not going to the football game, to the basketball game, to the club, to the store during its most populated hours is not the coronavirus winning. That's you winning. That's you staying alive. That's you watching yourself. You covering your skin. You not shaking everybody's hand, dapping people up during this time. That's not you being some type of lacking knowledge. That's you with the knowledge that you have, wanting to live. You like, hey homie, we good here and we're just going to do like this from now on. That's not you going, oh, I'm completely ignorant. The coronavirus isn't going to get. No, you don't know. What you do know is the coronavirus is spread by touching and it's airborne. So you put a mask on, no big deal. People are already wearing them here in America. I've seen people at the grocery store with them on. Put a mask on, it's not a big deal. Cover your skin, not a big deal. If you go into the grocery store, get yourself one of them wet nappy things and wipe down your thing. Your orders want to where our blood goes after appointments and other places. Well, I'm gonna say this. There's always the there's all okay. There's always the most populated answer. We can like, where does our blood go? We can go on to YouTube, and there's a whole YouTube video about it. And then there's the real answer. You know what I'm saying? That you would have to actually be in the know, working in a hospital. You have to be the person who takes blood. Yeah. Now my brother, he was a phlebotomist, so I could call him up, and he's really smart. When he starts talking, you almost need to just record him and listen to it later, because he talks real fast. He has a lot of information, and he wants you to hear everything. He's just a really, really smart person. He always was and is and will be. So if I ask him that question, he's going to give me this whole long winded, and I'm going to be like, just give me the basics. He's going to go, it comes out of you into a, little vial or whatever. We take it to a lab, we examine it, and then the discarding part is the part that we don't know because we don't see it. And he's probably going to say, then they take that and they dump it into something, or it goes down the drain. Or it, but we know it doesn't go down the drain. Like I said, we don't know then because we don't really care. We don't really think about it. But it's going somewhere, and wherever it goes, it has to be protected for one, because it's your blood, and it's blood. So blood can be affected, and next thing you know, one mosquito can wipe out millions of people, because the blood mixed in with a local cat, you know what I'm saying? A mosquito came and bit it, and it had human and cat blood, and next thing you know, you got the cat blood virus, and it's going around, making people meow all day, But that's basically what happened with the virus that killed 70 men, the Black Plague. It was a mixture of pigs and rats, and a mosquito came and landed on either the pig or the rat, because their blood mixed, and it was on ships. It was on these ships that sailed back and forth, and their blood mixed, and so if the it probably came from fecal matter or something like that. And once a mosquito landed on it and started, sipping on the blood, of course the mosquitoes, well, what the mosquito did was once the mosquito landed on that in the blood, then the mosquito landed on you. That's what happened. Yeah, most of us don't care. We're just like, okay, they took my blood, but most of us don't go, what did you do with that? What? Excuse me, what are you gonna do with that? Oh, we're gonna examine it. We're gonna test you. Yeah, I know you're gonna run tests, but after you run the test, like, what do you do with it? The answer is, oh, we're gonna throw it away. How? Where's it gonna go? Does it go in a big pool of blood with everybody else's blood? Because that would be unsafe. Do you just water it down and toss it down the drain? That would be unsafe. How do you know what? That's a damn good question. How do you discard blood? I'm gonna have to do hold on a second, because now I'm typing. Doggone it, you done got me. That's a doggone good question. Hold on a second. How do for copyright reasons, let me turn this down. Hold on a second. Let me listen to what they're going to say. Blood test procedure. Okay. Let me see if they have music. Then copyrights won't be a big thing if they don't have music. Well, they have music, but it sounds like... Okay, diagnosis. Okay. Okay, so blood and DNA are very important. So I'm listening to an oncologist. All right, she's going through the process. Request of the physician or the consultant. Yeah, right. Okay, so she's just talking about getting. She's not. How do they discard blood? Behind the scenes, what happens to the blood samples? Okay, so this is another 2 minute. Let's get to the bottom of it. Okay, we can listen to this person. They have no music.
Medicine at North York General, and today I'm going to show you what happens to a blood sample.
You can listen, you can hear this pretty good, right?
So we're in the emergency department where we've taken blood on a patient, now sending it through the pneumatic tube system upstairs to the core laboratory. There, in a speedy process, they'll receive the blood and do the appropriate testing that's been ordered for the patient.
Right. Tube system they're using. So it's the same thing the bank uses.
Where a specimen has just arrived through our pneumatic tube carrier system.
Same thing the bank
We take
uses.
the tube out over to the specimen processing desk where we open the carrier, remove the sample, and ensure that all the samples that are in the bag are all for the same patient.
Yeah.
The tube then goes back into the carrier and we send back to the destination that it came from.
Okay, lady, let's get to the good part.
So once the samples have been received in the lab information system, if the sample is going to the biochemistry department, we take the sample and put it into a sample rack. This is where we load it onto our front-end automation, which takes the sample and loads it onto our analyzers.
Okay, let's skip this and see if we can.
And in archiving. Once the original sample is then archived, it takes an aliquot of the sample, which is just a portion of the original sample, and takes it to the sample analyzer where it's then tested. From there,
So they only
any
use a
samples
part.
that have to go to other departments are walked over and put into the appropriate department rack. A
So they
technologist will pick it up from there and do the appropriate testing.
so they split it up. Okay, the lab complete. Okay, so blood specimen processing, blood test at warp speed. What happened in the hospital laboratory? Okay, so they're not telling. We don't know. So maybe I'm just looking something up wrong, but it's not on YouTube. And I looked up how doctors discard blood samples. So I don't know what else to look up that would give us an audit. Hold on a second. I'm going to have to call my brother because he'll tell me. And it'll be a whole hour of, but this dude, man, where does blood goes after it's drawn? Okay, so what happens to blood cells after they're tested? Where does blood go after it's drawn? Okay, so this is. Oh, come on, man, I can't read this. This is in a whole nother language. Does it translate? Or medical center. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So let me see if I can find my reading glasses because my vision has been blurred recently. But okay, let's get to the bottom of this. All right. And it looks like it's just me and you on right now anyway. Okay, if your blood is drawn, separated into, okay. If your blood is drawn, separated into more than one container, tube, then it may arrive in the different offices and the laboratories in the medical center. Your blood is not directly touched by any person, bare hand, after it is taken from your body in laboratories. The containers of blood is put into a machine and tested. The machine automatically handles the blood in the manner that is needed for the test. You shouldn't have these glasses on when you're looking at a computer. When the test is completed, your blood is stored for at least 1 week in case your doctor needs to order an additional test. That's what happens to it. It's stored. Testing your blood. After 1 week, the container with the blood is disposed of in a special designated biodisposal unit. So I guess we want to know what the biodisposal unit is. That unit securely keeps your blood along with other disposed test containers and is taken away from the medical facility. The blood and tubes are then incinerated. So there is our answer. The blood is incinerated. But once again, this is the popular answer. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna hold on. I gotta plug this shit. Wait. That's a popular answer, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say before that blood is incinerated, there's some fishiness going on, and I'm also saying it is quite clear that not all blood is incinerated, at least not right away. Blood is too valuable to just be thrown away. There's just too much information within blood on every person. I don't care how normal you think you are. If you have a heart and it's beating, you have a whole historic library of people who came before you, and there are guesstimations on what the people will be like that come after you. We know this because we can look at cavemen and we can look at their dietary tract and we can tell how, why a certain caveman uh, uh, group died out, and why the others survived. We can tell that the smarter ones survived because they were smarter, and the ones that and because their brain was larger and they were able to, they're cognizant, is what got them out of trouble and what helped them survive. And then, then there's the ones that lived off of brute strength. And yeah, that's cool for a short while, but it doesn't constantly, help you in the long run. And so, of course, they died out. And I'm talking about the Neanderthal. So we know that there were several different kind of cavemen out there, or cave people, for all of you womanists out there. Because the womanists would be like, why couldn't it be a cave woman? Like, could have been a cave. You don't know. I'm sure it was a cave woman. Yes, so for all you womanists, the cave people. All right. Cave people. How long does DNA test? How long does well, that is beyond the scope of my studies. But let's just let's just throw stuff out there because I don't know. It's because I haven't studied it. And studying DNA it is deep, bro. The strands and the helix and all that is. When you start messing with that, start removing one, putting in the other. I mean, how the person can just completely turn into something else. You can turn something on in a person by doing that. It's just amazing. But I'm gonna say this: if DNA is frozen, then it'll just keep going. Now that brings us to this next point. I was talking to somebody about the coronavirus, and she, very smart woman. Uh, I think she worked for the Department of Health. Actually, she retired now. And what she told me, she said, is very interesting because these polar ice caps that are melting, and there were once civilizations there. She's like, there were diseases, and flora and fauna and things that are not used to being around as many men, many of species, human beings and stuff like that, and or help knock some of them off the planet that are frozen in ice. She said they're melting, and once they start melting, those creatures, beings, and viruses and diseases, they're just gonna this whole process is gonna start all over again. Except there's more of us. You know what I'm saying? I just thought that was interesting. So just with that, and then some other analogies and little bit of information that I have, because I'm like I said, it's just beyond the scope of my studies. I would say that it lasts forever. I say that is if it's kept. Well, we know that there are buildings, secret buildings. Well, the building isn't a secret, but we know that they keep plants. There are arcs that they have, like Noah's Ark. But there are arcs that are built around the world for different, different continent on different continents for you know different races. The Germans have one, the Americans have one, the Spaniards have one. And, then there's one united arc where they take all the seeds and all I'm sure blood samples of pretty much every type of human that there is and was that they could find, every type of animal that they could find. And it's all in this arc, just in case the whole world just blow everything up, like Kurt Douglas says, and we have to start all over. We're able to do that. I'm just thinking, uh, what if some of our blood is being frozen? And, well, that's what I'm saying. It is. And being stored somewhere just in case. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly what's happening. Now we don't know whose blood exactly, but the answer is yes. We know that there are people who are trying to live well past their years. So you have the rich trying to get in a chrono, whatever that is, where you freeze, where they're trying to Han Solo. They're trying to do that whole frozen thing, and then let all this terrible stuff go by, and then wake up, you know, and start all over. We know the rich are heavily into that. We know that they have safe houses. The rich have safe houses. So we know that there's a lot of this. I want to live forever. I want to be immortal. We know that, you know, things even down to vampirism and stuff like that. And people are doing stuff to try to, for one, be young or go back to being young and uh, trying to live forever. They want to stay on this planet forever and stuff like that. Things on that. I think everybody's left. But anyway, it's a good talk. Yeah, you guys get at me. Start protecting yourself. Start wearing a mask. Don't be ashamed to do it. Somebody laughs at you, laugh back at them, or laugh with them. Get yourself some food and water. Get yourself another, like a storage unit or something like that, because you might have to hide some victuals. You might have to hide some food. You might have to hide some water because it's going to be very valuable. And protect yourself the best way you can. It's your boy Tom 202. God loves you, and so do I.